Okay, so everything is panning out okay. We're able to do the handle the ATA creation if any of the users don't happen to have an existing associated token account. One of my issues is that I have need to disconnect actually, reset everything. One of my issues is this form. Up to now, I've been like handling it with my cheesy, breakable validation and stuff and such, and it's something I need to address and make this a little bit more usable. In an ideal scenario, my understanding is that you would do, SvelteKit in particular has some really neat stuff with form actions and stuff that can kind of do some validation more on the server side rather than just in the front end and the client like we're doing so far. I'm not going to get into that too much because also the version I'm using of SvelteKit is actually a little outdated, and they've just released more big changes to their routing and stuff. But at the very least, I need to at least improve this form validation. And so one of the things I've been hearing about and I've been curious to try is Zod. Zod is actually kind of like a really nice TypeScript validation package or library that it's getting a lot of attention, and there's just a lot of contributions and code that has gone into Zod, much more professional than what I'm scrapping together. So I figure it may be a good opportunity to kind of experiment. But essentially, my initialize, the only function, program function that I'm running is this initialize escrow, and it initializes based off of some key values, such as the from the form. So custom programs already existing, but it grabs the form state, what I call out token mint, which is tied to this dropdown. Also the form in token mint address right here, and that's essentially it. So there's a couple of things that kind of tie in together. Obviously the amounts are tied in as well. These out amounts and in amounts are they're coming from the user store raw amounts because we've updated the user store up above, that sort of thing. But the user store itself doesn't have it doesn't actually get those values until we do some validation, like it has required escrow inputs, doing some little bit of notifications, and once it has it, then and only then do I start kind of updating some amounts inside the user store, which is what we just wanted to do. I wanted to move the setting of the user store directly inside the handler, just to keep it to make sure that we have the latest state of the program. So that's as intended, but I have really cheesy validation going on here around do they have all the escrow inputs and such, and have a valid mint address, doing some of these checks and stuff, and honestly they don't really work. It's not quite how I want to do this. So so my idea is to kind of create some, oh, that broke it because I've got, yeah, need to remove that. And actually I can just get rid of that. Has valid token mint address. A lot of these things I want to just get rid of, because the validation just sucks. It's basically what I'm getting at. It's crap. I've tried form state and form errors, and it's wacky. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to install some packages, or really it's just Zod. So Zod has they have some documentation. Here's like LogRocket has like a pretty decent intro to Zod to kind of follow, but I think it's just npm install Zod to get that going. Not much to it. And then with Zod, I kind of need to essentially actually turn this into a form. Up to now, I've just been using kind of like form control, but I really need to move this over here. I really need to get my turn this, start actually adding the form element instead. And as it goes right now, I've got escrow up top and then a divider. And then I've got kind of this, I think I could probably add it just down here. Because I've got, yeah, I feel like I could do, maybe I can add the form element right here, and then I can do something like a they're on submit, and then the prevent default. And right now I can just say console log form submitted. It's kind of the idea. Now obviously I need to get the closing to this. So and then there's my other divider. I feel like I can do my closing form here. What does it say? Does not open. Move it up one more. Oh, that would do it. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Go back here. Close the form. That should work. Format it for me a little bit better. Okay. Certainly shrunk it down. Maybe not quite as intended. But yeah, okay. That shrunk it down. The idea of thinking is like, I mean, really right now, so right now I've got my handler on this to do handle initialize escrow account, which is my main function handler. I could turn this button, because I'm using a form now, I could turn the button to a submit button, whereas on submit it runs that particular handler. Let me see if that works. So rather than doing specifying on click, what if I did type equals submit? No, I need that. Type equals submit, but then I still need my escrow. So let me get rid of this. What I'm going to do is get rid of the handler up there and instead put it up on up here. So handle initialize escrow account. I wonder if just that should work. So I don't have my tokens. Obviously this janky UI. I have 3 of this. I have 3 of this token. Where are my tokens? Since I reset my stores, or I had to save my changes, it reset my store, so it's not showing my mints, which I can conveniently just grab from. So what that means is that I got to go through here. So account, data, parsed, info, token amount. Don't have any of this one. So I can grab that and say I want that. Okay, and let's say I'll give up 0.5 of this for 0.8 of that. I don't even know. Okay, it approves, and that worked. Okay, so at least just moving, changing, adding a form, and putting my handler up top is the first start, the first step. Click into it, yeah, and this stuff is more of a read-only, and it just validates on the handler. So there's really not any form inputs here. It's really just this part that I need to improve and clean up. So now that is working, I'm verified that still works. I need to go into this function, and I think for now I'm going to like with Zod, you create these things called like schemas, essentially, and then like it will do all the error handling and stuff like for you. It grabs all the handling, because you create a schema and then you try to parse, you pass like whatever info came in. So I think I would like convert all this, it recommends that you put it all like as an object and use like a Zod object for form data, and it just grabs all these things, and you can add like kind of custom error messages inside. And then you pass this object, like validate form data, you know, parse that and this, something like this. It's just like, is it validated or not, true or false? And then you can use some error messages generated from this to display like in the UI, you know, maybe below or something like that. So I want to try that. So let's gonna build build a Zod object so yeah, so we've got a Zod uses this concept of like schemas to help with the validation of all kinds of types. But because we're dealing with like a form here, it's often like if you're dealing with multiple inputs and stuff, like from a form, it seems to be using Zod's object as a way to, you know, to help with validation. So what I've done is this, the Zod object, it can, you then specify the different fields within your object, like the different properties. So here I have the out token mint, and I've got a rule that is basically saying that, you know, it's a string, it's a Zod, you know, treat it like a string, and if there's an error, you can kind of send a message inside. So for example, if I wanted to like throw a message for the shape, like the min and max. So for example, I can pass in another object and just say like a general message, address must be greater than whatever that is. Actually, I could probably do it like a string, template string. So greater than constants dot min characters, something like that. And you could kind of consider doing the same for like all the rest of them. So if I do message and then address must be less than, something like that. Something like that. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to something. And so that's kind of the initial schema. Now, what I need to do is I have to, you know, up to now I've been using this kind of this form state and form errors, and it hasn't, like, I haven't really fully fleshed it out. It worked a little bit during my testing, but it's not really that reliable. So that's why I wanted to start kind of focusing on this. Now the idea is like, what do I need to validate for sure? I think for now, like, this is a drop down, and this is all coming from my store, the wallet token account store. And it's just the kind of the label. And so behind the scenes, this is grabbing the address. Now that I think about it, the out token address. So this schema, actually probably don't need it. I don't need it for the out token mint just yet. I think I need it for the in token mint instead. So essentially this address right here. And then I also need another field where I can do something like the in token amount, yeah? Where, again, it's a Copilot's trying to help me out, but it's Z, and the space down here seems to format this way, Z dot, I believe I'm treating, I mean, a form is going to be treated like, how am I treating it right now? Amount, type text, everything is type text, is how I've been treating it so far. So the out token amount type text, and what about the in token amount, again type text. So I'll treat it as a string because I'm already doing some kind of conversions. I have to compute those raw amounts and turn it into a big int to pass to my program. So we'll keep it that way for now. But let's do string, and what could I do for this one? Let's see. Because like, what am I mean, it just has to be required for now. It's a type string, and you know, min 1. And here it's like prompting me to amount must be greater than 0. Okay, could try that. And then max could do like, I mean, shouldn't be like more than say like 10 for now. Obviously need to trim this. And so say you have like identifier expected. Oh, yeah. There you go. So this is like a really, really basic schema. And then the idea is I can, what I could do then is like grab the form data, I guess, for now. I just want to kind of see if this would work. So escrow store reset, this is inside our form handler. This is doing all the stuff. So here it's grabbing like has required escrow inputs, which is a bunch of like it's basically this escrow schema, you know. Right now I have it pointing to this, so a bunch of user store stuff. But I think it would be better to start really using some of this other validation. So just for example, let's grab the form data. So like whenever you're playing around with like a form element, a cool thing just built in to HTML is like you have this concept of like form data from a form element. It's a little bit different than like an object, but it basically allows you to capture it. SvelteKit has some really cool things with like form actions and progressive enhancement. I'm not gonna mess with that right now. It certainly would be a better way to kind of do validation on the back end, like on the server, rather than here in the front end with the client. This is definitely not like secure, but I think for now I just wanted to experiment with this Zod library. But I need to grab the form data where how could I do that? How could I do that? Like most of the time, what I do, well, first off, before I do that, I need to make sure that I get form state in token. I'm binding the value to in token mint. I also need a name here, and I need to make it consistent with what I've used, because for Zod schema, it's expecting an object with a property called inToken mint. Yeah. And so keeping that consistent, inToken mint, inToken amount. Good. Also name equals inToken amount. Obviously this bind value is going to kind of change eventually, but for now I'm kind of just piecemealing this together. I need to get the form data. So oh boy, normally what you would do is like get access to the event that occurs. Yeah. So I think by default, if this is a submit, I wonder if I can here just add in for the form event. Is it form data event? It's just, I forget the, not quite sure the type, but essentially you can console log the event, right? So whenever I click on this, escrow inputs are invalid, but here it's called a submit event. That's what it is. So submit event. Okay, I think that will work. But then notice how even though I'm saying the event right here, like I'm passing it the event, down here in my markup, I actually don't need to, this button, it's of type submit, and up here when I add my kind of on submit handler, I'm pointing to this. I don't have to like pass in, you know, the event argument. It knows that. Svelte already has that kind of worked out for us. So so that's cool. But if I want access to the event, I need it here in my function, like definition, I should say. So now that it has, like, now that we're using the event, I need to grab the data, and one kind of standard way is like const. You can do form data equals. Oh, here's yeah, this is nice. Copilot's already doing it for me. Yeah, there's this form data e target, and there you go. That will do it. And now that I have the console log form data, and I think I could do console just to kind of give you a sense, like whenever you're working with this form data, it's a little special. Values, it's a little bit different. Entries, that sort of, it's still like an object, but you got to work with it a little bit differently. I think what I've seen is, I wonder if I do console log object from entries, returns an object created by key value entries for properties and methods. And what if I what happened? Done. Let me like object entries is like usually maybe I can't do it that way. All right. Well, like one thing is for sure is I need to like iterate through this thing and loop over it. So if I did like const, I could say form state, but let me just do like data. It's like an empty object for now. And I do for field of form data. And then again, it's like a key value thing. So like const, yeah, key value, getting that out of the field. Because again, you're going through like each key in value of this, and right now there may not be anything. Data's already been declared. Okay. Oops. Const Morty. Makes no sense, but we're going to work with it. Form data extracted, key equals value. Normally you just kind of console log form extracted. Key, what the heck? I know I'm getting some type complaints. But like what's happening here, this form data extracted is like we're getting the fields, in token amount, in token mint, and the token, because it's looping through all the named fields. So what I could do is, for consistency purposes, I could token. Need to find the token. Here it is. So this is actually, I should call this out token mint. And call this out token mint. Should be better. Obviously there's some types. TypeScript is complaining a little bit. But HTML form element. Does it go? No. Yeah. That's just one less complaint by TypeScript. Okay. So we have, like, say we have our data. Yeah. I thought you could do, I'm wondering if I could, like, well, forget it for now. For now, let's just try to see. So, like, we're printing this out, and then essentially back to Zod is that you would have this object to work with. So in this case, it's the form data extracted. And then with Zod, you're essentially doing the whole check, you know, where it's like, you know, where it's you have to use a try catch with Zod because it's going to try to parse, is what they call it, using your schema to parse your variable, your data, and if it's good, then great. Otherwise, it needs to it will catch some errors for you, and then you can work with those errors. So, for example, at a most basic, typically what they call is result, yeah, and then you take your schema, you take your schema, which we called escrow schema dot parse is what they've got. And what do we want to parse? We want to parse our object, so form data extracted. And then essentially, like, if that works out, I mean, just like something like, you know, successful result. And then just we can see like what happens. And because I'm using TypeScript, I haven't found a way, but like you have to type the errors, you have to set it to any. But in this case now, if there is an error, Zod will like return it for us. And Zod has this like use Zod's, you can like flatten the errors. So error dot flatten. They have this whole page of their docs around their error handling. And they have some stuff. It's kind of neat, error handling and flattening, because you get a lot of details on what happened when you have errors. So the idea is essentially the idea is that you can make these a little bit more accessible and get them. So like if I just console logged error, there's going to be a lot of info that will come out from Zod specifically. But if I do const field errors equals to error dot flatten, oops, and then it's like, okay, what do we want to do with these errors? Well, ideally you kind of you would probably like stop maybe something like yeah, like doing some just some logic. Like we could do you know, well, what could we do here? Like, let me just console log the field errors for and maybe return, just so we don't go any further. Don't think that would work. I mean, but make a mistake, yeah. And yeah, here this looks to be about right. So we have the submit event, and then we have the field errors, and each one has like it's another object. So like inside you have this object that matches to the name that you gave that field, and then the first, and then it's an array. You can do a lot more, but like here it's like array or amount must be greater than, and then the in token mint address must be greater than, that sort of thing. Which would then allow you to like display like a simple error to your user, you know. It's kind of how I see it, how I'm thinking. So let's see. Like if that, obviously if that doesn't work, we're going to stop execution. And probably at this point I could consider doing at this point I could consider I need to make this available. Like, how could I make that available? I'd like to be able to access the errors, you know. I could consider maybe using, maybe I do use my form. I could like go through my errors essentially. Where like how could I go through and like update? I want to be able to go through could consider like form errors, like form errors, which is a different object that I've been using. It's like I'd like to be able to for let, you know, error. So like, just thinking maybe I could like update my form errors object to be equal to, so like you're looping through here, and for every error that there is, which is, this is an object actually. Where the key is the field name and the value is an array, where the first element is the actual error message that we defined in our schema. So just wondering, could I handle this a bit better. So I'm just brainstorming this. Because it's an object. How do you loop over an object? How? Well, I feel is that really will that really work? I'm trying to get a sense of like no, that didn't work. That didn't work. Click on this, and I get these. So what I'm trying to do is I'd like to maybe I could use that. So oh, come on, man. Entries. Good old chat. Let's try it out. Chat GPT. How to I know there's keys and values. Okay. Well, let's try it. So, I don't. Yeah, let's try the for n. So const error in field errors. Okay, and or actually, how about this? Const oh, that's how oh, thinking Python key value, maybe. Okay. No idea. No idea. Let's see. Okay. Key value. Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. So what I could do is just update my form errors. Bunch of empty strings. Okay. Well, value we know is an array. When I run, click on this. It's a typing thing. Oh man, this is a pain. The heck? Okay. Seems to be working. Seems to be slowly working. Yeah. And then if I've got an error, let's just, I mean, this is just total crap. This is not probably no way to do this. But for example, like in my app, I've got in token amount and the in token address. Yeah. What I could consider doing is, like, Daisy UI has like text inputs, and you know, they have things you can do to like labels and stuff that you can kind of add to display whenever you have, you know, some errors, for example. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a label. So what I could do is something like, at least on the bottom here, for this part right here, I can start like adding some stuff. So add, you know, if I just do like a label and I make it for, what do we call this? The in token amount. And then inside, we can do this whole span. Yeah, Copilot is trying to do it, but label, text, alt, and I'm just following like what I've done previously. Like on my form, I've got a little bit of labels up here, so I could do text error. Obviously I need to add some quotes there. Give it the text error thing, and what I want it to be would be like the form errors. Form errors dot in token amount. Yeah. And then close the span, and then close the label. I feel like that would, obviously I haven't like added a condition here, so like save that. Click on this, yeah, see? Click on this because there's an error. Address must be greater than, and now it's added this like little deal, okay? Need to do, I can take this little bit and add it to below the in token mint. And rather than, let's find A and change that to mint. Okay, and I reset, and it's changing my form a little bit, but if I click on this, yeah, address must be greater than or equal to 30. Yeah, you know, it's like a range. Yeah. That that's kind of what we're getting at. Now, I don't want it to always display. So it will be kind of like a, you would use an if. And if there's, you know, form state dot in token mint dot length greater than 1. Like, hang on. Maybe I don't need the length. I forget what happens, like, in console. Like, if I type in a const s equals false. So an empty string is falsy. Okay. So if in token mint, not form state. Ah, this is stupid. I meant not form state, but form errors. So if form errors in token mint, if it's an empty string, then this will be false. But if it's got something, then that should print. No. What the hell am I doing? What am I doing? If form errors in token amount dot length greater than 1, close if, right? Like, if it actually has an error, print the dang thing. Yeah. Print it. Yeah. I feel like that's... Now, if I do something like 3.2, still doing that because our I'm not resetting the form errors object anywhere. So I think that's the problem. It's a bit of a mess. I clearly need more work on this. I gotta keep practicing. Yeah. Like every time they where could I keep track of the values? I mean, Zod's got some really cool stuff to it. I'd like to take advantage of it and learn how to use it and implement it. I need to think on this one because I'm not really sure how best to proceed with this. So this form validation stuff is I gotta rethink this a little bit. What I think I'm gonna do is I like the idea of using Zod. Sounds good. I think what I'm going to do is the form errors make sense to me, but I may use this escrow inputs are valid. I created it and I really never used it because I think from like a very simplistic approach for validation, just like doing something like starting off the escrow inputs are valid, using kind of booleans to work through has been something that I'm more comfortable and familiar with. Although I do know that like Zod adds a lot better type validation functionality for us. So this schema thing looks pretty cool. I can see how that can come into play, and I'll try to use it. And also SvelteKit has the form actions. The new SvelteKit 1.0. It's almost 1.0. It's a release candidate, so it's getting pretty close to finalize. But they really added some cool stuff with form actions and with what they call progressive enhancement. That does some really neat validation more on the server. I think though for Solana, like in this case, and this is something I'm curious about, I would assume that more sophisticated apps still do this kind of validation on a server instead of in the front end. But what's also great about all of like Solana programs, on-chain programs, is a lot of the validation, like our methods just won't execute at all. If our anchor, if all the accounts and instruction arguments, etc., don't align with how we defined our structs, our account structs, and validation, context validation structs using Anchor and Solana. So I feel like there's a lot of checking on directly on chain because this method you know, where we are using initialize, our custom initialize method, like it just won't fire, because if any of this doesn't align with how we've built it, built the program, and our IDL kind of helps with all that. So all that's to say is, I think what I'm going to do is I certainly need to, I think I just need to create, I'm going to do a function called I could try it like that. Validate form data. And maybe it will have like inputs unknown. I'm gonna just do a little bit of a mixed here. So validate form data. One of the things I'm gonna do is like first set escrow inputs are valid. I'm going to first set it to true, and then my idea is that I'm going to validate each component. So I'm going to validate one of my fields. So I'm going to validate the out token amount. I need to validate the in token mint, and I need to validate the in token amount. And I guess you could say I need to, validate the out token mint, right? So that should work. Now, like at a very least, without like even using Zod, I could do something like if, form state, because I've been using this form state object and form errors right here. So, form state dot out token mint dot trim dot length, right? Like if it's like you're not gonna have a token, like I won't, like it should be like if it's like less than 3, I'm just arbitrarily saying, all of these, when you I'm trimming this, but the actual value behind the scenes should be at the very top, where I've got the label. Where's the darn value on this thing? Oh, it's out token mint input forms. Yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay. So out token mint, and I'm binding the value to form state, which is fine. Yeah. And it's like the option is the full-on mint address. So here I could consider using like Zod's like a schema, right? I could consider doing like a schema, but basically, if say they've basically left it empty, or it's like, you know, I could say the escrow inputs are valid equals to false, and why'd you do that? Like invalidate it, and then let's make the error yeah, like something like that, you know. Else, if it's good, if this is, you know, this is obviously I need to add more validation, you know, around like the length of the pub keys and stuff. But I just want to get some basic form validation going, because I really have broken this over time. If it's good, then I need to reset it. Otherwise, because this will just stay, like maybe the first time the user screws up somehow, even though I've kind of hard coded my options here in the UI to be a mint address, so it should, like, this would probably be hard to break, but just in case, go ahead and reset it, you know. And then same kind of thing goes with the next bit. So validate out token amount. So if, and then form state out token amount. And out token amount, it's also a string. So same kind of thing. Like if it's less than 1, like basically they didn't put anything in there. I also need to check like that it's a number and stuff like that. So I think this could be a cool spot where Zod can improve this, but same kind of thing. Escrow inputs are false. So like again, what we do is we run through and we first set to true, and then go through these checks, and if any of them fail, then it triggers them individually. And the whole point of this is that you have kind of unique error messages that you can then display. So yeah, so this is, where is this valide? Escrow inputs are valid. And then same kind of thing, form errors, make it specific to out token amount. Amount must be greater than 0. That works. Otherwise, let's reset the form errors to the empty string. I feel like at a basic level, this is going to be a lot of rinse and repeat. And it's not out token amount, but let's see. To end token. I'm actually dealing with the mint here. And this can be the in token mint address required. And this one, same kind of thing. Let's do out in token. That should do that. That should do that. So at the end of the day, if it makes it through all this, great, you know. So I feel like at the end of the day, you know, if it's, I wonder, at the end of the day, it's like return escrow inputs are valid, you know, like, so it's going to that should be that. Now I'm curious like how they do with Zod. You know, they use this object, then they make the schema, and yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. Like Zod's got some cool stuff, for sure, that I'd like to learn more about. Apparently there's a really, there's a free, like tutorial online about it. I mean, there's a ton, like Google, but there's apparently a pretty well done, like free tutorial, that's good for like, getting started. So if I do, So this one is basically, it's like, it returns a Boolean, but inputs could be a, just like any, could be like form data, you know? It's really like what it is. So I wonder, so I mean, inputs here using Zod is any like object that you want to parse with your schema, but for here, you know, it's basically like grabbing all the data and then, yeah, like Zod like does this parse essentially is like, you know, if it's successful, then return, you know, escrow inputs are valid, essentially. It's kind of what it's doing. Yeah. So I wonder how I could kind of like combine the two in a way to make it a little bit more simple. So how does this LogRocket does it? LogRocket has the schema outside of stuff. which I started doing. I have this schema. I mean, it's all right here. So instead, like, this would be so like this is how I would like consider doing validation, like on a very simple level. I'm wondering though if, you know, to leverage and utilize Zod, you know, it's essentially what they're saying, like, I just thought that the parse function, and I look at parse, how can I do this? What could be a better way? I always thought it was like take I mean, this is basically saying something kind of like this: const result equals escrow schema dot parse inputs but I feel like this needs to be like in a try, right? Catch where I could I mean I could do something like const result escrow schema parse inputs. Now inputs obviously in this case would be the form data, and assuming like there's no error, then I guess I could do return escrow inputs are valid, which at this point would be true. If there's an error, then any, and you can do that code that I did earlier using yeah, like this block of code. Oof. We'll see. We'll see. You gotta make up your mind. This is like a classic example of just not knowing really like what. There's too many things I'm trying to do. Like keep it simple, stupid, right? And I think the easiest way would be to ignore Zod completely and do something like this. Easiest. Like this is easiest validation. I mean, without a doubt. There's just not much to it. That said, could do this would update I'm trying to think, like, how would I mean, if they're good, it's like form errors equals, you know, like an empty just like an empty object again. Well, I guess I could just copy what I have down here. More or less. Don't need the let, and I can get rid of that. Get rid of that. Oh, I don't need a type bit down here because I've already done it up top when I initialize it. So, like, reset any lingering error messages. Okay. Oh, but that won't happen because I was returning too quickly. You know, reset any of that. Check it. Da, 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 da. We're good. So here I could do console log result. I'm gonna do that. So like it goes through, we pass it some form data. It goes through. We first initialize like our valids are true. Okay. We go through and like if this works, it still should be true. Okay. However, if it does not work, then we could leverage Zod's handy error messages where we do update our form errors object and stop execution. So field errors is like what comes straight from Zod, and they show kind of like an example where like your errors, you know, it will throw an exception, and then you'll get like these handy, like a handy printout of like all the errors and more details around like each error as it aligns with your schema, you know, after trying to parse it and it doesn't work. So you get these cool errors. Now, object is of type unknown. Which part are they talking about here? Object is of type unknown. The value. So I could consider trying to type this. I think I can do like string any. Or it's really, I don't know if I can type it like that. I don't know if that works. TypeScript can be a little maybe I don't. Clearly this is not the right way to type that. I could do as string. Does that work? Because like this is a value. It's value that's the problem. This, they don't know. I feel like key is a string. This is a regular, like we have that. It's this value. Can I do something like that? Nope. As string. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. I wonder. Sometimes you can do stuff like this, like value as string, because it's an array. And then this whole thing is the returned. Whoa, does that really work? That's some janky syntax. So like I'm casting value. It's unknown, but I'm telling it's an array of strings. I guess I could do like, oh crap. I guess I could change this to any. I don't even know if that works. It kind of works because I think it's I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to look at field errors. Do I print out field errors? Yeah, right here. We can look at that in a second. I kind of forget. But then this is like updating my form errors object with all the errors. And then I don't need to reset like this. But here, first things first, I need to certainly change, if I'm going to use this, escrow inputs are valid type of thing. And I want this function, validate form data, to return a Boolean, then I obviously need to have it return escrow inputs are valid. Yeah? Ugh. Ugly. So, what does this mean? Well, I feel like, I mean, I have a schema. It's only doing these two. I certainly need to add more for my other fields. Like there's parts of like with Zod that I have, that I read in here, that, and also like if you don't put it in your schema, there's some certain ways, like if you don't tell Zod to expect this, if it's, you're missing any fields from your form that you do, then it just won't like correctly parse it. Now I'm not really returning the result, but you need to be careful, like whatever the inputs are needs to, you know, like however you've defined your schema, if you're somehow accidentally miss a field in here and you're expecting like the data from all that to come back after Zod, then you got to be careful, because it may just like truncate your data essentially. Like you'll just only return the fields and the data of the fields that you've specified in your schema. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. So next we have a schema. I need to add to this schema. But I really want to look at Zod's you know, like I have oops. I have so Zod has like some, at the very basic usage, it's got all these primitives, types that you can check at runtime, and certainly something I need to look a little bit more into. But one of the things I was thinking about doing is just right now I get you know, I've got my schema basically doing the in token mint, which is going to be this field, and then I have the amount here. I need to consider adding additional fields to this schema. And what I've got going on right now is in my form, initially I was doing like these on input handlers, like doing my validation there, like handle out token amount input, handle on change. Handle on change is still, I think, is okay. But I was basically doing using this kind of on the event and doing like a unique handler for each. So if I, for example, if I go in and I look at these, some of these get pretty, someone's doing this like same validation here, and then it's returning, and ultimately what it's doing is updating like the user store with some value, you know, after it goes through and validates the form, then it takes whatever the value is and maybe updates the user store. Certainly helpful and necessary in some parts, because recall, like my oops, my method, my function still takes a still requires a couple of things from user store. Particularly, it needs the out token ATA, which is not really addressed here. And this is when I was like updating the validation all like for each handler, like for each input. So out token amount or whatnot. And so I feel like what I may do instead is maybe disable these handlers for now, like this on input. Curious what this will do. About to break shit, that's for sure. When I first started this, slowly building this up, I was doing like these simple little checks one by one. And I mean, not gonna lie, I could probably get by with what I have, just knowing it's not. But I'm trying to improve it. And instead, what I'm thinking about doing is just not doing the checks until they actually try to initialize, and then use the Zod checking and any errors returned, and then updating the UI with more specific errors. So that way, we're not doing a check on every single element as we go. It's just more of like when they try to do this, it's going to do the validation on the form right inside. For the form submit. So my thinking is, what if I just turned, can I comment these out? Am I going to get in trouble? Yeah, this, let me get rid of my checks. The change I still need. Because that's going to be for when they select a different token out of the connected wallet. That said, the other handler, like the in-token mint address and the in-token amount. Curious if I could get this to work. Without the individual ones, but instead more on the whole validation. So like, I wonder if I hit this right now, cannot read properties of undefined. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's see where to begin. Or not begin, but to continue, essentially. This function, validate form data, maybe I'll do is form data in a way, but validate escrow inputs. Okay, I'm updating the errors. I feel like that should work. Now, to expand on my schema, we're passing a whole object, grabbing all this stuff and passing whatever we get from the form into this validate escrow inputs. And then initialize it to true, goes through. If this is successful, then we don't have any errors. We'll get a result, and we return the true. If we do get errors, then let's set the validation as false. They're not ready. It's not validated. Grab the errors, and let's update our form errors object. And after we do that, then yeah, return the boolean. Okay, so we're not even using it. So now, let's see, form data, like, it is a submit. Now I'm using this as a submit. This is me playing around with different ways of grabbing the data. And I don't need to do all this right here, because this is this right here is basically, at least right here, has required escrow inputs. I feel like this is like user store, yeah. Yeah. Getting some TypeScript issues. Essentially, this should be if what was the variable? Escrow inputs are valid, right? So if that's false, then we can try to do something like this. Use the notification store. It's a little bit too much happening. I've got like too many random checks. So okay, well, like the idea, one idea that I have is like this will pop up a little notification like store. It'll pop up here. It won't go through all the details. Instead, I'm going to have each field where, like, if form errors, you know, like if there's an error. Actually, I don't even know if I need to do the check because, like, they're all strings, right? I feel like I can get rid of the if check because they're all strings. Where else do I have in token mint? Literally, I'm just going to print the error that I have stored there for that particular input field. So it does spread out. It gives me a little bit more room for that. But like if I hit this, it pops up here, escrow inputs are invalid, and it shows at least these two because that's the that's what I have in my schema. Now let me try to get, I'm gonna just go over here and get like a token, escrow token account. It's a public key. It doesn't have to actually be like a legit. I do this, then that shows no error. right? So that's good. Still pops up like a little, hey, there's an error. But what can we do? That like resets everything on the form. Let's see. Let's do, let's start adding to my schema. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and add a couple more fields. And, you know, lots of this is going to be the same. So out token mint. It has a, you know, minimum to the min, to the max, and trim. Handy. And I can grab for the in or the out token amount. And like this is just kind of random. I actually need this to be like, this is a string, but then there's also ways to like, you know, one of the things I've been wanting to do is consider to do add a that the out token what do we call it, balance, like in the wallet, is greater than or equal to the out token amount. So I know Zod has some neat stuff of like with changing what is it? Like you can kind of transform certain values. I think they have like a transform. So like if I wanted to, I could take like out token amount trim, and then there's like this transform, and it's like transform the argument to the new. So like I could kind of say like transform, I guess maybe I could do like whatever the value is to maybe like parse int of the value, something like that. I've seen some examples where you can, so like what would I do? I would say like, okay, I want to make sure that it's that this amount first as a string has like, you know, stuff like that, but then turn it into like a number, and it's like number. Yeah, there's some stuff that you could do with that. I need to look. Baby steps. baby steps. But that's kind of the idea. Is like I could totally maybe able to do that validation right in here. I'm sure you could. So I've added those two fields. So now we have our 4 fields: the out token mint, out token amount, in token mint, and in token amount. Okay, and as we work through and we validate the inputs, we're going to first say that set this to true, and then go through and try to parse it with the Zod schema. If all goes well, make sure that we've kind of cleared out any errors and return that Boolean for us. I'm still not sure. Yeah, so we get that Boolean. And then down here in the handler, the submit handler, which also happens to be my method call, probably could consider you know, like if so if this is false, we're going to have an issue. This one, I'm not 100% sure. This will tell us if user store stuff is kind of messed up. Need to look at it a bit more. And then if it makes it through, because these are returning early, if for some reason, they'll just be done. Then we can continue on and build up. I am not entirely sure. But if I come over here and I hit this, obviously I need to work on the CSS here. But like that kind of works. What I need to add, what's missing, is a similar kind of thing, like here. Let's add to the other inputs. So this is the out token amount. Let me see what this would look like. Obviously, this is for out token amount. We should give this a name. And that gives us that. And we need something similar for you know what, I wonder actually, since this whole thing see where would be the best place for this. Could maybe consider putting it all right here. Where this one I could maybe consider, rather than, what do we call this, like, if, form errors out token met, then push this else maybe. So what this would do is, like, it's really not the mint that I'm looking for. Okay, so like if I don't hit anything, it shows me these error messages. Okay, that's encouraging. And this little notification source popping up. This will always have like something. So if I do 1.2 and, you know, hit enter, that showed up. That didn't erase anything. We go delete and do like 2.3. Yeah, this is not working. What have I done? What have I done? Oh. Sorry about that. One thing that's not, that I just noticed is that I don't have, this label doesn't have the name. This should actually be token amount. So if there is an error for out token amount, then display that error. If there's a legit out token mint, then display the mint. Okay. Amount must be greater than that. If I type in 1.2, still invalid. I feel like that should have worked. Well, I mean, what's this? If for. Oh, that's the wallet store. Okay. Let's see. We got out token amount. We got out token amount and out token mint. Really don't see that being an issue. So what I'm gonna do, I gotta do a little bit better with my logs. Currently, I have like a bunch of store, setup store. Let's do console log form state. Curious to see, like, when I do this, there's the state, and here are the errors. Hang on. Run this. Nothing. Nada. As intended. And there's all kinds of errors. Yeah. So when I type in 1.2, for example, and hit OK, form state, out token amount, and why is out token amount must be greater than 0? This is not. On change. I think I got rid of all the handlers on input. On change, we have that one, but no inputs. Okay. Token amount. I got rid of this handler. I mean, this is something that needs to get taken care of eventually. So, like, you can validate that the form amount is correct, but it still ultimately needs to be, like, turned into a number, which is then, like, updated in the user store. So I'm, like, there's a lot happening here with this damn user store that I've kind of coded myself into a corner. amount must be greater than 0. I feel like, am I not resetting the form errors correctly? All right, so it goes through. And when we get the data, get it, we first say the form is valid, the inputs are valid. Then we try to do our use our schema and parse it, parse what we get for inputs. Are we getting? I'll clear this for a second. Like, where am I getting results? Like, I feel like it's not even. Yeah, I don't feel like this is even, we're not even getting to this. So why is that? Yeah, why is that? Hang on. Did I mess this up? Did I? Field errors is right. Form errors. Should I be? Should I be returning this outside? Maybe like escrow inputs are valid and turn that to false. Or no, I've already done that. I've already done that. Tries to do all these things. I don't know if I need to return that inside the catch, or the try catch. Now it's still. Yeah. You know what? Actually, I think I can just do console log. silence those because those already are getting printed inside this validation. So right now they're false. False. Click on that. They are naturally false. I get that. Now 1.2. This out token mint. Hey, well, hey, listen, look. The errors for out token amount but it's still there. See, like right here, the field errors, the Zod schema, so like it's doing the parse here. It's showing that out token amount is not listed. So it's here, it's not really picking up on that. This up here. Kind of grasping here. I'm trying to, like, this part. It's basically like, let's make sure that everything is reset. And then we try to go through and parse. And if there's an error, then we update the form errors. And last, we return the Boolean, that they are valid. Okay. I think, okay. That seemed to do something. That seemed to do something. It seemed to work as intended. And the reason why is because I moved it out of the try. Oh, yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's the problem. I was doing it in the try block. And if it failed, which this parse would fail, like it's going to try this, and it's going to throw an error. So it's going to skip all the rest of this, which at the time I was clearing out the form, and then it would jump straight to this error and do this. So my form errors were always just kind of getting populated, but they were never actually getting reset. So now, if I, leave it empty, it's going to, we're running this function inside the handler. It's going to set everything to true. It's going to reset my errors. Also pop up. Yeah. But if I take some random PDA, doesn't have to actually be a mint address, it's just a public key. If I do this and I hit initialize, then this errors and this errors, but this does not. Handy. Okay. Ugh. Oh man. So okay. So that was a logic. That was my bad. All of this is my bad as we're working through, but yeah, so that was the issue that needed to reset the form errors object right at the beginning, and then just repopulate, because these error messages will change again and again. And then if I do something like 1.1 and hit this again, that goes away, but this one doesn't. If I go to 0.3 and hit that, that's so far the form is showing. And if we look at my field errors, which this is the Zod errors that are coming back, it's showing out token amount, here, and out token mint. So it's still capturing an error here. I need to relook at that a little bit, because yeah, I'm not validating it quite like the other fields, because this is coming from the wallet token store on the load. So I need to look into that. All right, making progress. I still got to work through this validation stuff, but I took a minute and just got rid of all the junk on the screen. It was a little too much. Now I'm trying to actually go through this process and initialize, but I'm getting this escrow inputs are invalid, which is coming from over here in my handler, the form handler. Here is my new validate escrow inputs, and I'm using the escrow inputs are valid, has been my new check. This part right here has required escrow inputs. This actually points to user store stuff, and you know, I think I'm going to remove or just comment this out for now and see what this does for me, because ultimately I do need to set some user store things, particularly when we actually execute the method called the on-chain method initialize. It does need the out token ATA for the on the user store. Everything else is coming from form, but the out token ATA, that is set. My understanding is that is set when we do toggle this. And so what I'm actually going to do before, I'm going to come up here in my logs, user store out token ATA. Yeah, this is, we're going to print this one out. And I believe that this changes. Yeah, every time we toggle this, because I have a handler specific to this select this drop-down menu, and so when they select something, it's looking through the wallet token store and finding the match and getting the balance and all that stuff and setting. So like that is okay. Curious if I try to, so this is the token that I'd like to get, is this Y token. And I just removed my old has required escrow inputs validation because I'm trying to shift over to just the whole form validation. So I don't even know what the 7H, okay, that's the Z meant. This is my Z token. Not like it matters, but I'm going to do, say, 0.6 of that, and in return, I want to get, say, one of these. All right, now let's see if anything works. Okay. So my escrow inputs are valid. The check that I've been doing, escrow inputs are valid. So this performs a check, and it goes through. And if I did this correctly, it uses the Zod parser, the schema, to parse the fields that we pass to it. Yeah. So right here, escrow inputs are valid. Like, stuff seems to be okay. Now, escrow PDA, if you see, so it's made it down to, this log is right here. So it's able to derive. All right, so the schema part seems to work. Now let's see what happens here. Type error. Okay, so this is where the in token raw amount. This is a big, I think we're looking at big int issues, because remember the actual amounts that get processed here that are sent as the instruction arguments, these are type big numbers. Okay, so so I need to handle this raw conversion, and I think that's what's happening here. Shows that they were valid, but then this never triggered. This never triggered. So then it can do some conversions for the in token amount. Let's pass raw amounts. Yeah. Yeah. So it skips this validation, which right now would cause an error. This would cause an error, and it wouldn't even get past this, because I do need some inputs. You know what I will rename, well, I need to, I need to rename this. Essentially, what needs to happen is update. Yeah, this is the so this is what's missing. I think what I'm going to do is, this is too close to, I'm going to rename this. So, rename, and I'm going to, has, I'm going to do this. That's a little bit more accurate. Now, one thing that I need to find is I've got quite a bunch of handle, like on change, out token amount, and out token raw. I think what do I really need here? I need to definitely update some amount. I think at the very least, like, handle on change, which is used where? Yeah, I mean, that's it. So this is capturing, I feel like this one's okay. This handler is still necessary, because it hits a lot of the balance stuff. So form state, when that changes, we are changing the token mint. That seems like a possible that seems Seems like I messed up my renaming on this one at some point, because that does not make sense. I do know that it's a little specific, so I am setting here the balance, mint, decimals, man, I'm setting a lot of stuff here. Like if this is Solana, if it's any like SPL token, then we have, I'm going to swing this over to the left. If it's an SPL token, then we find the match in the wallet store. Obviously, if there's a match, which there should be, but if there's a match, then we're doing the out token information. Yeah. So I think yeah. So I need to rename this first because this is all out token info. So 33 set selected. Yeah, set selected. Let's do, oops. You know what, I think I'm gonna do, yeah, and then if I do, no. All right, let's try this again. No. What the heck? I selected it, right? Why am I forgetting how to rename? Crazy. You usually can do, oh. I gotta do the Command S. So if you do kind of like asterisks on top of the cursor, then it will do something. So this is, what are we doing here? We are set out token mint balance. Actually, this is set out token. Set out token details. I'm just going to say that. Token mint at a balance decimals. That's terrible. So set out token details, or set user store out token details. Let's go for that. Just knock it out. That should, because that's what we're doing. So out token should be taken care of. What needs to happen really is that I do the validate here, this part right here, here's the, this is what I need to fix. Out token amount input. I wonder if I should add where should I add this? Because this is, I mean, I'm trying to validate it, right? Do I need to try here? So if the result passes, then so far with Zod, I've got just like not the full validation really, to be honest. So I wonder, I mean, essentially it's like, because this how to do this. I mean, I think I'm setting all the, I am getting the raw and the balance. Hang on. I'm getting the balance, but I'm not getting the amount is different. So this is actually better would be to set user store out token, and I gotta kind of specify it, I think. Mint decimals ATA balance. That's what that ATA was earlier. Decimals, ATA, balance, raw, balance. Ugh. It's absolutely horrible. It's not. It's not. But it is what it is, because what's missing is the set amounts. So in token, in an out token, like the out token amount and the out token raw amount, that is not being handled. Instead, that's right here. And resetting. Could grab the amount. The raw balance is set. The decimals are set. And here are the amounts that need to be done. I wonder, I'm curious if the schema works initially. If there's any errors, boom, let me know, right? However, what kind of needs to happen, and I don't know if it would even work, but could I simply out token, no, handle out token amount input, even though this is not an input, the in token mint address we then need to part of me is just like, screw it, just keep what we have, as crappy as it is, because trying to add all this just seems to be such a pain. Such a pain. Ugh, what a cluster. Man, now that I've learned about Zod, I really feel like I could just like start, next time I start from scratch, I just completely use Zod from the beginning and make the validation work using that instead, because this is, I've got way too much because I'm doing the validate, I'm doing these checks like all over the place for each of these little handlers. Such a pain. I mean, honestly, it's like, handle that, handle in token mint address input, handle in token amount input, like all that would probably where else am I using this? I don't know if I'm using this anywhere. This was like something that I was experimenting. Yeah, it was declared but never used. I mean, these are like these, it's like validation mismatch, but I'm curious. I mean, if I do this correctly, and let's go for the Y commit, or that token address I should say. Let's do 0.4 and let's go for 0.9. I'm doing decimals because, I mean, raw amounts are necessary. It should work regardless, but just kind of making sure that the decimals are still. If I hit initialize escrow, escrow inputs are invalid, which is it's actually this. I need to say type error. User store values are missing. Something like that. That's really what's happening. That's really what's happening, because it's showing that my simple validate escrow inputs, this one, that one is coming up, just then it was coming up as true, and it's been coming up true for a bit, for a while now. So obviously it's not doing, now it's false. Yeah. What a pain in the ass. Like, maybe Zod ideas using Zod is just not going to work. I mean, one thing I could do, I'm genuinely not unsure at this point. I've made this too unwieldy, like, for me to keep track of, unfortunately. I could just remove all the validation, but I've done quite a lot of troubleshooting along the way to get this stuff. I mean, I really have. Doing this kind of thing. The user store, I've gone from having a buyer and seller store, like two separate stores, to consolidating to a single user store, which has its pluses and its minuses. But I've done quite a lot of handling validation individually on these individual fields, and trying to incorporate Zod into the mix just seems to be too much for me at this point. And for sure, like, overkill. I'm trying to learn something. I'm trying to play around with Zod. I think it could be fun and useful, but the truth is that I don't need too complicated. Like, this is me working on form validation, input validation, way longer than I want. There's already a lot of security with the on-chain program function and all the instructions and the account structures and things like that that Solana has, so the program already has some security there. So yeah, kind of coming a little full circle with this. I'm kind of thinking that maybe perhaps I don't maybe I just don't mess with doing Zod across like the whole object like this, because it's honestly it's getting hard for me to handle. What I could consider is leveraging the existing checks that I have and then moving my potentially consider adding some simple Zod schemas for each of these. So like in token mint address input, maybe I have like a simple Zod schema specific to it. So it's like in token mint, something like this. But there's more that's happening. It's not just the validation. We also have to update state. I have to update my user store. And that is a bit much to just simply, like I really need to use this code is where I'm getting at. I'm familiar with what I'm doing here, and yeah, so that's gonna be my next step. I'm gonna have to go back and kind of dismantle some of this Zod stuff, and maybe bring it more in line to these individual handlers, and rename them to make it really consistent and clear. So yeah. I never said it was easy. Okay. I'm gonna try something with Zod. Keep going back and forth on this. I'm not sure. Zod really does simplify the validation, and I want to use it somehow. But I have a lot of prior code handling inputs and updating user store. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to I'm going to create a variable specific to my user store. So one thing is like I would check the form inputs and make sure that they are okay. And then after we do the validation and we handle some errors there, currently like this returns true. So like if it returns true, if it's false, then we pop up a notification here and stop. Otherwise, if it's true, then we can kind of move on to the next part, which is what's missing is that I'm not updating any of my user store values in this simple validation right here. I'm just checking like this bare bones schema. But there are other things that need to be addressed, like and updated in the user store, not so much in the form. So it's kind of two separate things. So that's why I'm thinking maybe perhaps I do one schema specifically for the form, and we go through and make sure at the very least like that's okay. Then assuming that's okay, then I need to really kind of update some user store values and verify that those are all good to go. And I'm thinking I can maybe create a separate Zod object schema to ensure that like everything is everything is good to execute our initialize program instruction. It's kind of what I'm thinking would be a possible approach. Form state, outment, inment, like we have these, so I don't really need to worry about those for the user store. The user store's out token account, associated token account, that I need. But the amounts are also need to be handled, the raw amounts. So it's kind of a few things that need to be taken care of. And so like the out token mint, this can come straight from form state out token mint. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Well, till that, no, it's public key. Yeah. That I'm not too worried about. So basically, like in my previous handlers, I'm doing things like user store equals this. And actually, I could take that line and just do it. What's nice about doing it at this point and adding a form schema is that this has been checked initially by Zod. Now there's some new stuff that needs to happen. I'm thinking like, update user store values, validate the user store values with Zod, parse, basically if yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking, something like that. So then if it passes this, then we can kind of continue on. Now obviously I gotta, like, if user store amount, what is this? User store in token amount and user store decimals. So this is setting the, I feel like this kind of stuff can be taken care of up top. So let's see. I'm gonna, yeah. So what kind of, we've got some form state and token. We've done some of this. Update state. In token mint. Yeah, in token. Huh. Yeah, like here, for example, like handle in token mint address input. So when someone puts in the token that they want in exchange, we're updating. First do an initial check and then set the mint to be that, and then they try to find a match in the wallet. And if they can't find it, then do that kind of thing. I'm curious. Curious if this would work. Man, it's a lot to throw in one function. This is why I'm getting stuck with all this. I feel like this submit handler is turning into it's just too much to capture. Damn. Can I use like I don't even know if I need all this crap. Like, why do I need? Like, do I even need this? And do I really need to get all this balance? Like, what was I doing this for? I'm trying to, I'm kind of forgetting, like, when I'm looking at this, like, my function only requires the out token ATA. Why the heck do I, what was I doing for this? Update store decimal so I can compute the raw amount based on in token amount, which comes later. I mean, that could be the handle in token amount. I mean, this is being, like, Zod is taking care of this part. Like, it's basically I could do I mean, that should be okay. Not even doing. I mean, I do know this, like when they like the escrow itself. I mean, I feel like the heck, man. Man, this is pissing me off. I'm not in a good headspace right now for this. This is all for form validation. I mean, it's like stupid. I'm completely breaking my UI and getting kind of upset about it. How do I get decimals? Why do I even need? I mean, honestly, in token raw amount. That's right. I need the in token raw amount because that's what my program needs. Okay, and I can't get it without the decimals. And I can't get the decimals without fetching through the wallet or... Okay, here's the important thing. Like, yeah, I need in token decimals. Dang, dang, dang. My raw balance jeez. The raw balance is getting handled. Out token amount. Not the balance, but the amount. Dude.